What's up, tubulars? I got a very simple piece of tech that I want to share with you, something that I've been reviewing over the last several months, and I really do love this as far as power management, especially with a Sony a6500. And hopefully this will help you because I don't like to recommend, anybody just going out to buy tech, just for the sake of buying it. So power management is extremely important in any camera setup, and especially for the Sony a6500, which is my daily driver. I use it in my vlogs and I use it commercially. I love this camera, but I also have a small rig setup as well, and I'm not really into battery grips and adding that onto the camera and then having to buy another cage for it so that I have the cage for the battery grip and then a cage for when I don't need the battery grip. So I think I have a solution, but it depends on your use case, and those are the things that I really want to address in this particular video. So today, I really want to talk about the iFootage USB power converter. Now, this thing really does have a small footprint, or a small handprint. And it is very lightweight, and I'll put all the specs in the description and or the video in post. But this thing is great at managing the power from an external battery that you might want to use while you're filming for extended periods of time. There's a chip in this that actually manages the power. Now, before you ask those questions or say like, but I can just use an external battery, something like this, and then just plug in the USB type A and plop that into my a6500 into the micro USB, and I can just charge my battery. Yes, except for if you want to actually use the camera at the same time. Because I'm shooting in 4K, I shoot at 4K 24 frames, I shoot in 1080, a lot of times I'm shooting at 120 frames, but the demands of what my camera needs based on my shooting style and not going into standby mode, like really having it on the ready for a lot of that run and gun, especially this commercial work that I'm doing, these conferences where I have to be there all day long and I need that camera to be ready to take the shot or, to film. So I like the idea, I like what you're thinking there with saying, well, I'll just plug this directly into my camera and charge my battery. However, like I said, your mileage may vary, but it's likely that your battery is still going to be draining. However, it might drain slower and you're still going to need extra batteries, where something like this is going to give you at least all day, if not almost all day shooting. Now let's talk about the hardware really quick and what you get in the box. So essentially, if we flip this over, we have the LED lights, and those are going to light up to let you know that it's receiving power and that it's able to actually juice your camera. It's compatible. Now, this power converter, it states per iFootage that it is compatible with Qualcomm 2.0 quick charge, but really what you do want to make sure of is that you can at least get this plugged into a battery that can put out 2 amps. Now, if we flip this over, we will get the male-to-male 1/4 inch, and we can put that in there fairly easily, depending on what you want to mount it to. We have the 1/4 inch to the cold shoe that I will mount onto my small rig, literally next to my external microphone, and it fits just fine. Now, we have a very short type A USB, and it's not something that you can pull off. It's not detachable. I can see that this could be a point of failure. However, I've used this so many times, conferences and interviews, and thus far it's been fine. So we have our mount already set up. Let's flip this over. And one of the things that I will say is that when I flip it over like this, I would recommend to iFootage if they would actually put the lights somewhere where I can see them better, especially if I'm using something beefy like a 12,000 milliamp battery. Because ultimately what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to put this like this upside down with the LEDs facing down so that I can plug it in. Now, I could flip it up and twist this cable, but I don't feel comfortable doing something like that all the time. Something that's a little bit unrefined that I think, it's this strap. And essentially, it's pretty easy to put on. I mean, and you can tighten it, so it's nice because it can fit on the side of your tripod if you needed it to, but ultimately what it's doing is securing the battery with the power converter. And then what I'll do is I'll just put this right on the small rig next to the microphone. And what we need to do, though, is what's important is how we're going to actually get that power to the camera. So what I have here is a dummy battery, an FW50 dummy battery that is separate. Now, let me say that this is $49, and the dummy battery is separate, so around $15. Now the dummy battery is something that you can also use with external monitors, and I'm going to be reviewing a monitor that just came in that you can draw power from that monitor to power your camera, and this will actually work. So essentially we just put this right in here, mount this on the shoe. This actually goes into the camera itself, and this is actually how you're supplying the power. And you just flip on the external battery, you turn the camera on, you're getting some juice, and it powers up. Now, in my use case, I have actually filmed at conferences and have had to be available to film like run and gun, like keeping my camera on, like so going into the settings so that it doesn't go into standby like after a minute or 2 minutes. Like I want my camera on constantly. So filming at 4K 24 frames or that 1080p between 60 and 120 frames, I want to be on the ready. So in my use case, I was able to get 6 hours of shooting time. And what I mean like 6 hours, I probably could have gone a little bit longer. However, I didn't need any longer than that. Like it didn't die on me, but I did charge it every evening when I returned home, and it was ready to go in the morning. And that's just my external battery. And the thing is like we have a lot of these external batteries around. This is a 6,000 milliamp battery, but I was using a 12,000 milliamp battery during these shoots. So that's conferences, it's events, it's time lapses. So I think when you're asking yourself like, why would I want to add a little extra weight to my camera? I'm not recommending using something like this while you're vlogging. I mean, I love to vlog, but I think it would be a little bit cumbersome, a little bit heavy. Yeah, you can vlog all day if you want to, as long as you've got the SD card space and your camera's not overheating or anything like that, sure. But I've made adjustments to my a6500 where there's no recording limit on it and it doesn't overheat. And that's another thing that I really like about this with this dummy battery. I have filmed for hours and hours and my camera doesn't overheat. I don't get any sensors coming up or any thing on the LCD saying that it's running hot. Like this actually helps. So if you're also having overheating issues with your Sony a6500 or any mirrorless camera or DSLR, whatever it is, that might actually help you. So again, to reiterate use case, look at your particular situation as to whether this is something that you might need. If you're using a monitor, an external monitor that you can charge from, then maybe just charge from that and you don't need something like this. But there are times where I'm filming and I'm not using a monitor and I actually appreciate having something like this, and so I don't have to carry around extra batteries. So conferences where you're running and gunning, long interviews, time lapses, and this is something like if you want to do a time lapse and you want to leave the camera there if you're out in the wilderness and maybe it's a little chilly, and this thing will actually hold up for you. I'll put those specs in the description and throughout the video in post to let you know like how the heat and or the cold tolerance is on that converter. But essentially, I'm recommending something like this for those of you who are doing that type of shooting. If you have any further questions or comments, please leave those below. As always, continue to rock faces, do things that matter. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.